Okay, everyone. I wanted to give it a little time for this season to pass so that you can perhaps better see what preachers and teachers that you might have in your congregations and such. Now, there were many, and even my video pointed out this great conjunction that had just occurred, that everybody, it was pretty much a universal idea that this was the Star of Bethlehem with Jupiter and Saturn. Now, realize that it was called the Great Conjunction. Very important. And understand what I point out and what's very important in the scripture, that God is the Word. John 1, verse 1. And that is very important. So we had the Great Conjunction, where the point in time that Jupiter and Saturn met became the Star of Bethlehem in these times. And I want you to look up the definition of and have a better understanding of what conjunction means. And just to briefly explain, it is a word. Remember, God is the Word. It is a word that connects events, time, and space. Now, this is very important as it relates to the scriptures, and it relates to the entire chapter of Ecclesiastes, chapter 3. Now, I pointed out many times Ecclesiastes chapter 1, verse 9. There is no new thing under the sun. This entire chapter deals with times and seasons, conjunctions. This is very important. But the biggest takeaway, the biggest verse in here I want you to understand is verse 15. So, understand He is the Word, and conjunction is that word, time and seasons, events. About these parallels that are discussed all throughout scriptures, the synonymous associations that I've pointed out in some of my other videos. But this is the most important chapter and verse of this time and season after the conjunction that just occurred, and this is a conjunction. Everything involved is a conjunction for that understanding of that specific chapter. So, realizing that this conjunction occurred in this time and season that everybody believes to be a time and season of gift giving. This is what many have made this time and season all about. When this time and season is actually supposed to be a renewal of your covenant with the Lord. Now, all throughout Scripture, many times, it discusses the renewal of the covenant with the Lord. This is important, to always renew your covenant with Him. And this is why, again, no new thing under the sun. And just as Ecclesiastes the chapter and verse, chapter 3, verse 15, I pointed out, this is that time and season. It is now. So realize that in the end times, it states in 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 3, there would be a falling away first. This is the realization that many have fallen away. They do not renew their covenant with the Lord, and this occurs in many ways. This is why people do not understand and know the Lord anymore. And if you don't know Him, He does not know you. If you don't renew this covenant with Him. Now, understanding the renewal of the covenant, you can go to all these covenants that are named in scriptures. I compel you to look them up. Try to understand them as best you can. Now, there are many covenants because many different people renew their covenants with the Lord in their own manners that relate to these types of covenants. Now, for the Christians, which is most important, because I will have to say that the Jewish people, and this is why they're so very important, they don't forget to renew their covenant as much. This is why their children are given the word and begin at a young age, and they have a bar mitzvah. They graduate from childhood into manhood. This is part of their covenant. But you as Christians have a covenant also, and many have fallen away from this. This is part of that falling away. And this is part of why nowadays a lot of people don't understand why people have so much hate and divide. And then there are those parents that ask themselves, this is very important, why they ask themselves why their children are behaving or have become the way they are. Whether they've fallen into drugs, fornication, or just complete sin. Because you have forgotten what part of the covenant is. Some of you may still do it, and some of you may not do it and remember it. When you were children, those that remember, and for those that don't remember or have never done it, usually the children at a young age, the Christians, were given a Bible. Very important. Just like the Jewish people do their children, they begin to teach them the Word. Very important. And they study the Word together with their children. And a better way to understand this, notice that in the Bibles, and this is part of that helps you identify better, there was usually a place in the front of the Bible where it had, this Bible belongs to, and the child wrote their name in that Bible. This was very, very important. This is a big problem. That people took this season of gift giving when it was a renewal of covenant. So, you gave your children the Bible and they wrote their name in it. And this relates to what it states in Revelations about your name being written into the Lamb's book of life. This is part of that covenant that people have fallen away from. The covenant is a contract with the Word, with the Lord. This is why this was placed in the Bible, to sign your name into that contract, to study and grow your relationship with the Lord. So there is no longer a renewal of the covenant, the contract with the Lord. This is a falling away. People forgot how important it was to renew the covenant and pass that covenant on to your children. Very, very important. So understand why Revelations chapter 11 verse 10 comes to be. You need to make sure that you renew your covenant with the Lord and do it right. Do it with your children. This is the covenant with the Lord, and to study it together with your children so that they know what the Lord is. The Lord is not the events taking place today. So realize when the next season of gift giving comes, in Revelations chapter 11 verse 10, that you've given the right gift, that your gift bears weight, so that when it's measured, it can bear witness to the Lord. Renew your covenant, people. Read Ecclesiastes chapter 3, the entire chapter. Look at the other verses that I've showed you. You want to make sure that you understand the times and the seasons. God bless.